Philharmonia Chorus and Orchestra and Jerusalem. Choral singing is one of the most popular pastimes in this country. There are more than 1,000 choral societies and over 80,000 fully paid-up members. Choristers of Westminster Abbey. Religious festivals like this at Easter are the cornerstone for choral music, and to start we go to the King's Cathedral School in Gloucester for the choir there to sing the Easter carol, This Joyful Eastertide.
This joyful Eastertide, away with sin and sorrow, my love the crucified has brought to life this morrow. That Christ that once was slain, never his 3-day prison, of faith had been in vain, but now hath Christ arisen, 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 arisen. My flesh in hope shall rest, and for a season slumber, till Trump from east to west shall wake the dead in number. That Christ that once was slain, avenged his 3-day prison, of faith had been in vain, but now hath Christ arisen, 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 arisen.
Everybody can sing, given half a chance. They just need to be encouraged a bit and brought out of themselves. I think that if they're singing alongside somebody else in a choir, it encourages them to sing. I mean, everyone likes singing in the bath because of the acoustic in there. And you've only got to put a choir in the Albert Hall or in a nice acoustic like Westminster Abbey, and people can surprise themselves with their singing. And I think that's why everyone joins choral societies like the big Yorkshire choral societies, which are very, very popular indeed, and they're a centre of their life.
Thanks will I take thee with pleasure for the rest.
Well, it happened in 1784, and this was the big year of the celebration of Handel's birth. And there were 4 fantastic concerts in Westminster Abbey that year, one of which was Messiah. 275 performers, 3,000 people came to it, including the King and Queen, and it was the beginning of the big choir.
Handel wrote oratorios like the Messiah for London's new puritanical rich. During Queen Victoria's reign, puritanical attitudes came to dominate every social class. Evangelists exploited the joy of singing for religious purposes. In newly industrialised areas such as South Wales, where working class people needed release from their surroundings, singing became a purely industrial phenomenon. 3 quiet cathedral towns, Gloucester, Worcester and Hereford, have been crucial to the development of our choral tradition. Every year, for over 250 years, one of these cathedrals has played host to a major choral event, the 3 Choirs Festival. Oratorio is the staple diet, and here, as in the north, the 19th century was the heyday.
With the high point of choral activity is rather a low point in composition, really. I mean, the main names to do with the three choirs were Stanford, Parry, and Alexander Mackenzie. And you only got to compare them with their contemporaries in Europe, people like Dvorak and Brahms, to realize where they stand in relation to the very finest composers.
What changed the state of affairs? Or who changed it?
Well, it was the advent of Elgar, really, that changed all this. Elgar was born in Worcester and grew up in the three choirs atmosphere, so he knew all about its limitations. He said that he felt slightly ashamed of an oratorio of his, but he had to put a fugue into it because the English public would only... Choral music starts really with religion. Everyone likes to feel that they're getting a message across in terms of music. As far as our records go, really, it's St. Augustine who came over here at the end of the 6th century, who brought with him these waves of missionaries and brought all their music with them. It was plain song, really, that started it. Plain song is singing words or syllables really to one note. If at the end of a long sentence there's one syllable which has a lot of notes, that's called a melisma, and it's not unlike football supporters today who sing "You'll never walk alone" or something like that, you know, which is a melisma, and it's very similar to the whole idea of plain song. Naturally enough, as time went on, developments occurred. I mean, the monks weren't musical in the sense that they were deliberately writing music, but as time went on, centuries passed, things changed, and you got divisions of parts. It wasn't just a unison singing of monks, but there were two parts, and then eventually they brought in boys' voices. Consequently, this developed into a thing called polyphony. For example, there is a mass by Taverner, early 16th century composer, who took a popular song, The Western Wind, it was called. It goes like this. And he weaved with it other strands of choral singing, other voices, so that if the top line was singing that tune, then the tenors underneath were singing a counter melody which went... was influenced to a considerable extent by the ability of the performers. I mean, Taverner's music was written for Christchurch, Oxford, and the complexity of Taverner's music meant that the singers there, the boys in particular, must have been brilliant kids. I mean, they couldn't have sung this music unless they were absolutely brilliant. It's so difficult. While all this was developing in the religious sphere, there was all the secular music was happening at the same time, going along at the same time. Around the early 1500s, or even before that, composers were beginning to think in terms of applying the principles of polyphony to the secular songs that were sung, so that you would get the madrigal in the end, which was a song of courtly love. Naturally enough, and the other monarchy, royal patronage. And they both find their most grand expression in the coronation. The coronation is a very conservative affair altogether. I mean, the form of the service has hardly changed over the centuries, since really about the 10th century, even before that. And of course, the words of the anthems have stayed the same, so that you can compare the various settings and trace the developments of choral music in that way. I mean, Handel wasn't the first person to write Zadok the Priest. I mean, if we go right back to William the Conqueror's day, it would have been sung to Latin, to plain song. There was a tradition, of course, that the monarch was acclaimed by the people inside Westminster Abbey, and he was here with his cohorts around him, and outside the soldiers were guarding Westminster Abbey. And of course, when they acclaimed him with their shouts, the soldiers outside thought that they were in fact attacking William, and so they set fire to all the houses round about. And it says that this was the first and last time that William shook with fear. It's been a tradition ever since that the Westminster scholars, the Queen's scholars at Westminster School, should shout "Vivat Regina" ever since that time. And at the early part of this century, Parry incorporated these shouts into his famous anthem, "I Was Glad." Over the centuries, most of the time, any coronation usually threw up composers who took the old texts and set them anew. And I always feel that it was rather a shame at our present Queen's coronation, where admittedly Walton and Vaughan Williams set music for the coronation, but quite a lot of it was by older composers. I mean, there was "I Was Glad" Parry, and there were anthems by Byrd.
finest piece of choral music written.
It was a brave statement, and I have to justify it. It's such a big departure from anything that's gone before. I mean, first and foremost, he took the old forms of the English verse anthem, which had organ introduction, solo, organ, chorus, etc., and he imposed on it external orchestral symphonies. And there was another aspect of it all which can be found in quite a number of Purcell's works, and that his insistence on clashes and discords which go on throughout the piece, which the listener is only just partially aware of. And you have to accept that some of these words need emphasis. And he does this by placing tremendous discords in the singing. May sound a little bit corny, but it really does give a tremendous emphasis to the word glorious when it's sung. And there's another anthem, My Beloved Spake, where he's painting the words and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land. And rather in the way that Byrd did with Zion is Wasted, he chooses these chords very carefully, quite clashing chords. Something you hear every day, particularly the turtle, I would have thought. At the end of another one, O Lord God of hosts, the people that prayeth has a discord, which gives the impression of a lot of people all praying together and then resolving their prayer into one final chord. Down to... They're all praying at one by that stage.
What would you say Britain's finest contribution to choral music was?
There was a very seminal contribution, as it were, in the sense that it was a very important direction for choral music to go.
Great composers alone can't keep choral music alive. The participation of amateur choirs is also vital, not just a few top ones, but also small local choirs. In Huddersfield, 3 choirs are competing in Class 97, the ladies' section of the annual...
That is in existence at the moment than there were 50 years ago. Married a local butcher, and she used to walk in 15 miles to rehearse for the Yorkshire Music Festivals, go window shopping in the afternoon, do the performance, and then walk home 15 miles. In 1842, she sang in front of royalty, Queen Victoria, who gave her a copy of The Messiah, autographed by herself, and said, "I may be the Queen of England, but you are the Queen of Song." And in 1888, they celebrated her golden wedding anniversary with a concert and started the fund for the Mrs. Sunderland music competitions, which, as you can see, are still going on.
Then they never forget it and they want to go on singing in a choir for the rest of their life.
And Jesus sleeps in ancient time, walk upon England's mountains green, and was the Holy Lamb of God.
We've seen how much all sorts of choirs, whether they're professional, amateur, adults or children, how much they all enjoy singing. But does the spirit which enabled Purcell's daring compositions to be performed at coronations and the Huddersfield Choral Society to perform The Dream of Gerontius in 1905 still exist? It's the people who sing in the choirs who have the responsibility. It's they, and only they, who can take us daringly on to 2005.